CNN projects that former Democratic Congresswoman and CIA case officer Abigail Spanberger will be elected the governor of Virginia, defeating the Commonwealth's sitting lieutenant governor, Republican Winsome Earl Sears. Abigail Spanberger will become the very first woman governor in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Again, CNN projects that Abigail Spanberger will be elected governor of Virginia. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is at the Spanberger campaign headquarters in Richmond, Virginia, the capital of Virginia. And Jeff, it must be pretty jubilant there as far as I can see from behind you.
Jake, it definitely was. This crowd here just learned moments ago that the projections are calling this race for Abigail Spanberger. Now, that is not necessarily a surprise because they were confident going into this. But what they are seeing in the particular counties is really giving them a bit of a lift. Loudoun County, for example, right outside Washington, D.C., that is going very strong for her. And you can hear the crowd behind me now as they see more of these numbers come in. Abigail Spanberger represented the Richmond area when she was elected to Congress back in 2018. She won a red seat. She used really this moderate Democratic message, but also had some tough medicine for Democrats who she believed were leading the party astray. So it is going to be very fascinating here as Abigail Spanberger begins her governorship here. It's a historic one when she takes office in January. How does she lead Virginia? What type of path does she make? But there's no doubt she talked very little about Donald Trump in the final days of this race, but Donald Trump was on the mind of many voters. So I just talked to a school teacher here, Jake, who brought her 2-year-old daughter to this party to watch history being made, and indeed now it has. Virginia was one of 18 states that had never elected a woman governor. Now it certainly has, but even more than that, Democrats have been looking for a bit of a revival, if you will. They've been looking for a bit of a injection of energy after that punishing defeat a year ago. So now they have it here. The question is, will Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, who was her roommate on Capitol Hill, will she fare the same as Spanberger did? We'll find out when polls close now in New Jersey. Jake?
All right, Jeff Zeleny at Spanberger campaign headquarters in Richmond, Virginia. I mean, the polls didn't even close an hour ago. That is quite a big moment for Democrats who have had not a lot to be happy about in the last year.
Candidates matter. And I'm sure that you've both had the same experience in talking to Republicans, particularly those who have been very focused on Virginia, and they have been less than thrilled with Winsome Earl Sears and her campaign. And Abigail Spanberger is a Democrat with the credentials of a military background. She is not a lefty. She's a moderate Democrat who has experience in Congress, and that was the right message. She was the right candidate, for the time, particularly when she was up against somebody who clearly was not on the Republican side.
Yeah, her trajectory onto the national stage was as a national security mom, right? The CIA case officer who, after Trump gets elected in 2016, is inspired to run for the House in 2018. She becomes part of that wave, many of whom were women at the time. And now, of course, the question is going to be, how does she govern? And also, how does the party embrace her as they continue to try to fight back against Donald Trump?
Congresswoman, are you surprised at all?
I'm actually not surprised. And I said this before, that Abigail Spanberger is a moderate Democrat. I served with her in the Problem Solvers Caucus. I mean, she was always very reasonable. I think she's very personable. It's unfortunate for Republicans that we lost this because 4 years ago we were so excited. But, you know, honestly, we didn't know how long. We didn't think we were going to really hold on to Virginia. How long could you hold on to a state like Virginia, particularly where you have so many government workers in that area?
There's also like a 50-year history of Virginia electing a governor who is not from the party that is in power in the White House. I think the only exception was Terry McAuliffe under Obama.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I mean, you're looking at those trends, and I think that really what we saw was Glenn Youngkin break that trend, and it was shocking, and it was a shock that needed to be, it was a message that needed to be sent at the time to the Democrats. And now we're seeing the reverse, and it probably is in many ways a referendum that these federal workers in Virginia are not happy with the direction of the Trump administration. I think New Jersey will be a lot more telling for the country. But even that, you know, the fact that Republicans are so close in New Jersey really says something good about the Republican Party and the message and what we're doing, giving the largest tax cut to the middle class that we've seen in decades. And what we are delivering when it comes down to reducing energy costs, inflation is coming down, the interest rates are coming down, mortgage rates are coming down. Things are getting slowly better, and we are cleaning up President Biden's mess.
Ram, what did she do right in Virginia? I mean, Glenn Youngkin, previously, when he won, he ran on school, you know, on parents and schools.
Well, Terry McAuliffe made a mistake in a debate about schools, and Youngkin grabbed on it and said, what do you mean parents don't have a voice here? I think the lesson, there's a couple lessons here. One is the President of the United States and the Republicans, by shutting the government down and looking callous and firing laying off 100,000 people, set a condition. Abigail is exactly the right candidate at exactly the right moment and caught the zeitgeist of the election. In that sense, I think what's also going to be telling is you have 9 Republicans in the House of Delegates that are districts that Kamala won. The Speaker of the House in Virginia is a really powerful speaker. If that goes from a 51-49 to 58-42, you're going to be able to really enact an agenda that I think speaks to the future. The second thing I would say is it is true that Virginia will follow history. If Mikey wins in New Jersey, she will be making history. A totally different, because no Democrat since the 60s in use, or rather no party in use in this case, wins in a third term on the party. So if she does this after 2 terms of Governor Murphy, that is making history, and that is an indictment of what I would say on President Trump. And in this case, I would say if 2024 was an election about bathrooms, 2025 and 2026 is a verdict on ballrooms. And they are done with what the president has done about kind of looking like basically Marie Antoinette.
You think that issue of, the ballroom, the
No, but I
bathroom-
think I think this, and we were talking about this slightly earlier, by being callous about SNAP and food for people, and then being so self-indulgent about both bathrooms and ballrooms for himself, yes, I do think it has resonance that he has lost touch with the very people that gave him his vote. He stabbed them in the back.
Again, Congressmember Spanberger and Cheryl, the ones who actually voted to shut down the government. And with that said, the president did move money to WIC to ensure that women, infant children were that SNAP is saying legally he can move money now, but there's still not enough money unless you reopen the government. That's number one. But what he did do is move money for the WIC program early on to help women, infant children. So he's doing what he can. Remember, the Democrats are the one that shut down the government. I voted to keep the government open. I'm proud of my vote.
Ani?
I was going to say the reason why we care so much about these votes are also because they are a proxy for the Democratic primary that wasn't. Everyone is going to look at a win here or a win there and say, look, maybe it's better to be more progressive. Look, maybe it's better to be more moderate. And so there's a reason why everyone is so focused on this, that even though the local politics at play are overwhelming, in New Jersey, property taxes are really rough. Energy prices are really rough. In Virginia, you've got the government shutdown. But what these things have in common is a moment for Democrats to look and say, what is the message that works?